Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I of course am Carl, and we are in our film space B here in my apartment. Anyways, we are back here as well because of course we are in the midst of spooky season. So Halloween of course is on the horizon for a lot of us. I know a lot of people celebrate it, and I am a huge proponent of it. It is my absolute favorite holiday as well as my favorite season. So as you will probably see, especially when we get into the video, there is many things of the season decor all around. I've got my lights up top. Of course, there are different wall hangers and signs and all kinds of things all lit up and going and making noise and all kinds of great stuff. So you will see that. I did make a decision here for the month of October. Now I know that we usually do September, but unfortunately I just kind of ran out of time for that, so we have moved that to December. However, I wanted to give you guys another series for the month of October. So what I have chosen to do, now I've done a convertible series, I've done a Eureka series, I've done obviously September and a few others. We are going to do a month of, for October, a month of Hoover coffee can uprights. Now, for those of you guys that watched last week, we took a look at a gorgeous Hoover Model 450, which was a machine that I absolutely love. It's kind of pieced together from other machines, but it looks really great after I did some extensive restoration work. But I have a lot of these coffee can machines, and maybe we will incorporate this into a September episode or something in the future. But I have a lot of these types of machines, and they have been around for quite some time, and I have only really kind of mentioned them a couple of times, maybe in some tour videos, or I did a video on a 700 a year or so ago. But I wanted to bring you guys another one today, and it's one that's pretty special to me because it holds parts that were built or restored on it by my late friend Jay Devine. So we're going to take a look at that in a little bit here. But anyways, let's get on to that for today and take a look at another really cool one. Well, everybody, in front of the fire today we have an amazing looking Hoover coffee can upright. Now I know some of you may not understand fully kind of what that term means. Now it was not an official term that was coined by Hoover. It was actually by those that used and owned these, as well as collectors that coined the term coffee can, because the motor top right here looks like an old coffee can. And as designs went, you had different vacuums coming out during this time frame, but when you had a vacuum with a very distinct coffee can style on top of the housing right there, well, it definitely earned itself a moniker there. But anyways, what we're looking at today is a 1935 Hoover Model 300. Now, the Model 300 actually came out at a time when Hoover was moving their production to more stylistic machines. You had things like the Model 150, which had this teardrop-shaped motor, all these different designs that were coming out, and very swept hoods and everything that made the old coffee can-looking machines look pretty antique, and that was back in the 30s. Now, the Model 300 essentially was what you would call overstock that was repurposed and redistributed under some slightly different labeling. Now, just because this may be leftover parts being used to sell a budget-friendly machine does not mean that this machine is any more or less rare or significant in vacuum cleaner history. Now, the Model 300 came out and it was actually offered during the Christmas season of 1933, and I'll show a picture of that ad for it right here. Now, as you can see, very similar to, of course, what we have sitting right in front of us. But one thing that Hoover decided to do, so At this time, Hoover was starting to implement something called the Special Series. So you'd have machines that were rebuilt by the Hoover company themselves, and what they would do is they would take the older parts off of a model 700 or 800 or what have you, and then they would slap different colored ones that would match the current machine out there. So for instance, we looked at a Model 60 a while back, and if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. But they offered the Model 60, but then they had things like the Model 700 Special, and I actually have one of these. And what they did was they stripped all of the trim pieces off of it, and basically added a brown bag and brown bumpers and trim pieces and everything, and called it the 700 Special. And then they would market it as kind of a budget option to families that couldn't necessarily afford new 26s or 27s that were coming out with the swept hoods and everything. Now, the Model 300 is a little bit like that, but it was its own standalone model that they did market, as we saw in that ad. Now, what they did for both this and the Special Series was essentially they took the Hoover lettering and they made it green. Special green. I love the color green, that's why I'm wearing green today. But the Model 300 was technically a special model, but unofficial, of course. Now, what it offers, basically, that is different, that is notable for it, is you still had the same typical design, the hammerhead, as I like to think of it. But then you had your coffee can motor, but with an indented headlight in the front. Now, normally the coffee can machines had a bolt-on top that would kind of screw on the top of this, that would have a headlight feature on it that you could get on or off the machine. Well, this one had it built in, much like the later machines like the 26 and 27, which had Bakelite hoods that actually had a headlight that looked similar to this as well. So that was one big difference that made this machine kind of stand out and made it a little bit more deluxe, because honestly, if you got a vacuum cleaner with a headlight, you were rolling in it. So, but Hoover went ahead and did some other changes. Now, they had a lot larger plugs, and there's several other machines that I'll show you kind of how their plugs changed. But the Model 300 had something that was actually my favorite plug of all time on a vacuum cleaner, and that is right here. Now, as you can see, it's kind of a circular plug and it says Hoover on it. Now, I've always known this as the Oreo plug or the cookie plug, because as you can see, it is round, of course, has the plugs, has Hoover embossed on the front, but then has ridges along the side, very much like an Oreo cookie. So that was one little aspect of this machine that was different, that they only offered with this machine. I have never seen another vacuum or another Hoover product that offered a cookie plug much like this, making this a very, very rare cord because they only were on this machine. Now, I have seen several of them. I even have another 300 in my collection that will be getting sold here soon, but it has a replacement cord, and many of them have been replaced, probably because the design, the molding and everything, it was just different. As far as I can tell, this was also the first molded Hoover plug, because normally you had screws and everything that you were able to actually take the plug off and replace it if it got bad. Well, this one was different than that. Of course, it was molded on, and if you had to ever change that, well, you had to change the whole cord usually, or at least cut it off and then affix a unoriginal plug on there. But now this machine also, it would have come with the same style dump bag that most Hoovers would have come with at that point. Now, they were starting kind of around this time period to do paper bags, but this machine would have had an original dump bag. It has been outfitted to take paper bags. I actually, when I was taking this machine apart just to kind of get it ready for the video, I noticed that there was a paper bag in it. It looks like it had been kind of retrofitted. But that kind of gets me to my next point. Now, the bag on this machine is not original. It was made to look as original as it could be, but the important thing here is the bag is actually off of the original Model 300 that was owned by my late friend Jay Devine. Now, I've had many, many, many duplicates that I've either had to get rid of or just kind of piece through and figure out what I was going to do with. Jay had always prided himself in his Model 300, and I had prided myself as well in mine. And he was very, very ecstatic when he found out that I had found one. And so basically, mine was all original, including the cookie plug, as I mentioned, and his was original, including the original bag, or a original style bag. Now, his had a replacement cord and needed some other things, but his did look very original compared to mine. Well, when he passed away and I took on his machine, I thought, you know, what better for this particular one? What better than to make one perfect one out of both of them? It's what he would have wanted for them, and I'm sure he's honored that both of them can continue on in this shape. So it is very important, you know, and would I love to have the original bag? Of course, but you know, it's special in and of itself to have that bag that he made on it. So that's why it will be staying with this machine. Now, the Model 300 would, like I said, would have continued till about 1938, but by that point, these were highly outmoded, but they sold a good amount of them, so there are plenty of them out there, but nowadays they are getting pretty rare. You don't see too many of them, and if you do find some of them, they're usually pretty cannibalized of their parts, or they have replacement parts or something like that. But this one is in as original shape as I want it to be, and it is just a fantastic looking machine. I'm so happy with it, and well, it runs great. So let's get on to our run demo and see how this one does on the floor. All right, everybody, the 300 is all plugged in and ready to go. So let's see how the old Hoover beats as it sweeps as it cleans. Well, everybody, the old 300 did great, and it is always great to see this thing, you know, light up and do the same work that it would, you know, had it been brand new off of the factory floor. And of course, you know, seeing that old bag that Jay put together and painted up himself, it's always very nice to see, and kind of gives you that nostalgia feeling of when you first showed me this machine in person. So, but I hope you guys all enjoyed our little run demo today. Well, everybody, we've come to the end of another one today. It was certainly fun to get this one out, especially fun to get some shots with it and the old fireplace going. But this machine is very special. It's a very cool machine, and it's not just special because it technically was a special model, but it's special in its own right because it is one that Jay definitely cared a lot about. And you know, I have a lot of machines that came from his collection, and this one, no different. Very cool. At least to have the parts from it and combine it with one that both he and I shared a great love of. So, but this ends, you know, our first episode of the Hoover Coffee Can month of October. Yeah, I just kind of felt that it was kind of a perfect time to get my coffee can machines out, or at least some of them, to show you guys for the month. Anyways, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your week and a fantastic next week. I will be on vacation, so content from me will be coming filmed previous to my departure tomorrow morning. So, but I always make sure to have something for you guys. Anyways, you guys all have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, y'all.